Did you hear about who they're... It's looking like it's going to be cast as Snape.
Yep.
Yeah.
He perfectly fits the description of Snape in the book, don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, perfectly matches that description.
I feel so bad for that actor.
I do too.
Because he might knock it out of the park.
Exactly.
It's very possible. This is not on him. This feels like one of those things. It's like, really? That's what you're doing here?
I know.
He specifically says he wasn't that attractive. He was greasy.
Greasy black hair.
Black hair.
Sallow skin.
Hook nose.
Yep.
Yes, sure, you can take creative licenses. But this is one of those ones that doesn't feel right.
Yep. Not the actor's fault.
Maybe he's going to knock it out of the park. We will see.
Yep.
But taking a character that has been played iconically, you're going to face scrutiny, especially when
he doesn't match the description of the original material. And if the point of this book, the point of this series, because the real question is always why? Why are you doing this? Yeah. We don't need more Harry Potter movies or series because the Harry Potter movies still stand. The only reason I can think of, a series lets you flesh out more of the book.
And more of the characters.
And the characters. So I'm excited for the prospect of, we'll get to see the stuff they didn't get to do in the films.
Yeah.
Not completely change the material.
Yeah,
unless you're going to say this is a complete re-envisioning of the Harry Potter material, which why would you re-envision something that's beloved by so many people for so long? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
I feel sorry for the guy.
Yeah.
Because he's just thrilled to be involved and he's going to give his best.
Yeah. Maybe he's going to knock it out of the park.
And it might work.
None of us will care.
Yeah, it might work.
You'll have to explain. Maybe he's not getting bullied because he's ugly. He's getting bullied because he's black.
Could be.
I don't know. But that is changing the source material.
Yep.
So, also, last time they did Harry Potter, J.K. Wouldn't cast any non-Brits.
That's true.
There's a bunch
of non-Brits this time. Well,
John Lithgow's not British.
That's true.
So,
yeah.
I guess she's
gone.
And
if Killian's involved, he's UK.
Well, yeah, they had UK people.
Yeah.
In the last one. So I think it was just not American, basically. But now it seems like they don't care.
I just am waiting to see what happens with it because, for me, turning The Lord of the Rings into a TV series didn't work.
Well, it was a different story as well.
True.
This is the exact same story.
Exactly. Yeah.
Fleshed out. Each season is one book.
Yeah.
So, we will see.
Yeah, we'll see.
We will see.
The biggest, the baddest, wackiest, funniest, filmiest show on earth.
Never
We'll see.
Hey, welcome back to our Stupid Reactions. I'm Corbin.
I'm Snape.
You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter for more juicy content. Thank you for your support on Patreon. Follow us on the like button. Welcome back. Today we got a Alia Bhatt interview podcast thingy.
A Alia Bhatt interview podcast thingy. Strategy.
So this is, I think, one of her first real interviews in a while. After becoming a mom and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
You know, she opens up about a lot of stuff. As she talks about acting, talks about apparently she was late diagnosed with ADHD anxiety.
Interesting.
I'm sure.
Which don't always go together.
No, they don't. They do often, though.
Often, correct. Yeah.
I'm one of the ones that doesn't have the anxiety aspect of ADHD, but I have every other aspect of ADHD.
That's true.
Which is wild.
And there's some people who have anxiety with no ADHD.
Yep. But anyways,
but it goes together.
I feel like it's happened a lot lately.
Yeah,
especially in India.
Late onset, not onset, but late
people
discovery.
Not discovering that they had ADHD early in life. I feel like in India specifically because even though they're so stringent in schools, they were like, "You're just being lazy."
Like we did for years. Where it was that, or it was you were shamed.
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, even when I was growing up, they started to know about it, but they still didn't really know anything.
Correct.
They're getting a lot better at it now.
Yep.
But anyways, so get to hear Alia talk, which will be a lot of good time and fun. So long video, strap in.
Bring it on. I'm going to eat my cottage cheese.
Difficult to understand an actor's life because it's so random and haphazard. But now everything's changed because now I've
I have a daughter. So now it's like there's a new girlfriend in the family.
An actor, a producer, an entrepreneur, an environmentalist, Alia Bhatt.
You were saying this is the first in-depth conversation you've done in over 2 years.
Have you never seen him before?
Why now?
He's a
what did little Alia
big-time
want to be
motivational
when she grew
life
up?
coach.
I was fascinated by the television. I loved
It wouldn't surprise me if he's her life
whether
coach.
it was in my classroom, whether it was in front of the television. When I started acting and when, your friends are your life. I started working at the age of 17. And when you're newly, pursuing your career, sometimes you start taking your friends for granted.
As humans, we judge ourselves so much, but there's probably no role that we judge ourselves in as much as being a parent. How do you win?
You don't. We're actually all giant babies through our lives, at least for our parents. Like, no matter how old we become, we're still babies.
That's what they see.
I see that now when every time I would travel, my mom would say, okay, be careful before you cross the road.
What's a role that you played that you see yourself in that most felt like you?
That's a great question.
The #1 health and wellness podcast.
Jay Shetty.
I'm surprised you don't know him.
Jay Shetty.
I don't know anything about
Alia
Jay.
Bhatt,
Dude's
it is
massive,
such
man.
an honor. I'm
beautiful
so
eyes.
grateful that I get to do this with you. Genuinely so thankful to you. You are an icon. You are phenomenal talent, an unbelievable actress. I feel the roles you choose are out of this world. I'm a huge, huge, huge fan. And I can't wait to dive in to learn more about the person behind all these amazing roles. So thank you for being here on Purpose.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we first met, I think we met a couple of hours before the Met Gala.
Yeah.
Which I can't imagine how kind that was of you, but how stressful it was for you. Can you just walk me through what
That was her first.
like?
I think we'd been in touch on Instagram for a while, and you very kindly said, if you're in town, I'd love to meet, etc. And I said, okay, let me try and work it out, because I was literally in town for 2 days.
Swell.
But I also realized one thing in that moment is I've become very comfortable with just like going about moments and like special events or
Like a young
shoots, and
Rufus
without
Swell.
really
Look at that.
having much conversation
Yep.
with people who I don't know. Essentially, we don't really know each other. So I've become a bit comfortable just talking to people that I'm comfortable with, that I know, my team, my family, my friends, my loved ones. So I literally took it as it'll be fun, a new experience. I was not on mommy duty at that time. So I
You were
had the
missing
time.
her.
Yeah, I was missing her a lot, of course, all the time.
Oh, shoot.
So I
great.
had the time, and I just thought it would be fun to have breakfast with somebody and just get to know them a little bit,
Yeah.
Apart from the fact that both of us are somehow in the media industry, right? Talking to people and getting to know each other is something that just humans do, which I've not been doing much of, very frankly. So I that's the reason I was like, okay, even though it's a bit stressful right now and I have to get into hair and makeup right now for the next 4 hours, I will still go ahead and do this because it'll be a new experience.
I love that mentality. I think it's such a great mindset. And I remember when I first moved to LA, Brian Grazer, who's a legendary Hollywood producer and creator, he does this thing that he calls curious conversations. And so once a month or whatever it is, he randomly picks someone that he finds interesting and he invites them over to his home to just hang out with.
Wow.
And it's his ability to just be able to have a random conversation, have a random
Comedians in
interaction
cars
that
with
may or
coffee.
may not lead to something professional. Sometimes it doesn't go anywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like there's no agenda behind
Correct.
it. It's just a conversation.
Yeah.
Which you'd land up. That's so interesting, actually. I don't really go for any parties or as such. And even if I go, it's usually just to like show face and like, be there for a couple of minutes and leave. I like to hang out with my close friends, and we sit and we talk, and that also doesn't happen very often. So literally, I was saying this to, I think, a friend of mine the other day, is I've forgotten what it is to have a conversation and just ask people questions and have them ask me questions.
As a mom
and
of a young child,
exchange and share.
Yeah.
I've always
Yeah,
said this
it's like,
before.
oh, I
I'm
get to
not
have
good
adults
with
around me.
small talk. And the reason I'm not good with small talk is because I know it's just small and it's specifically for that moment. So I can't really indulge in small talk very well. But conversation I actually can do, and I used to do very well. But something's happened in the last couple of years. I'm not sure. I don't know whether it was COVID also in the middle that just sort of isolated all of us into our own cocoons. And then life takes over. I, became a mum. All my energies kind of focused there. I felt like I was retracting a lot, generally, even like, conversation-wise. I also have this thing where I take trips within a conversation. Like I take a flight and I come back. But just getting to know people is always it's a different, facet to life and to your day.
Yeah. It almost requires like a different skill set,
It
a different part of
does.
your brain, a different part of your mind. And if you get out of practice, it can feel really hard to do that. How will I know if you... Oh, sorry, go on.
How do you know if I've
I was
taken
going
a
to say,
flight?
how will I know that you've taken a flight?
I think you'd know.
Okay.
You'd know.
You see it in the eyes.
You'll just see it on my face.
Yep.
I'm always
Yeah,
on a
I
flight.
also feel like a lot of what I've learned in life is through conversation, one person said this to me, or the other guy was saying this to that guy and I picked this up. I'll pick up more from what I hear through people and our conversations than I do from, of course, from a book and stuff. But I think conversation sticks for me more than the other things.
Yeah,
So I
right.
want to have more more conversations so that more things can stick.
Yeah. Well, you were saying this is the first in-depth conversation you've done in over 2 years.
Yeah.
Why is that and why now?
2022, I remember I had a very fulfilling year, as in it was very beautifully chaotic. There was a lot going on.
Same.
Many film releases, professionally one thing,
no,
but
not the
personally
same.
I got married, I had a baby.
Oh, that we had
all the
It was a
films.
full year.
We had 2 babies.
I think
You
that was the last time
physically
I
had one.
promoted 2 films. I remember in 2022, Gangubai, and then
One of my favorites.
thank you,
Amazing.
and then Darlings after that.
Amazing also.
Great.
But those conversations were very, very kind of, specific to film conversation. I think I overspoke that year. I just felt like I just have spoken so much. I don't have anything more to say professionally. There never came an
gotta
opportunity where
I've run
I
into a lot with requesting
wanted to,
interviews.
or there was like somebody approached me to just sit down and have a conversation about life. Nothing to do with movies or whatever. So it just didn't happen. But I did stay away from doing interviews in 2023 only because I
know.
genuinely didn't have anything new to say professionally. Like, okay, a film is coming out, watch it. There's nothing to say. In fact, a lot of people even said, why have you like shut us out? And I said, I'm not shut anybody out. I just don't have anything new to say. Once I feel like I have something more to say vis-a-vis movies or films, maybe I'll take up an interview or something. Actually, just talking about life, it's not come my way.
Yeah. Well, thank you for trusting us and thanks for doing this. I want to rewind back because I love learning about how who we were in childhood affects who we are today, I think. And now that you're a mother too, I'm sure you can see it, even though it's very early days, just how our early experiences create such impressions on who we become, what we're attracted to. And I wonder, what did little Alia want to be, or who did she want to be when she grew up?
I was fascinated by the television. That's something that I remember very clearly when I was growing up. In fact, my mom and I speak about it right now because she said, my God, was I a horrible mother? Because right now I'm so conscious of my daughter's screen time. Not like she has any major screen time at all. She's not even, looked at the iPad. But like, even if she's watching a song on the television and stuff, I'm like, we should limit the time. And my mother's like, was I a horrible mother? Because we just let you be in front of the TV because, like that was seemed normal at that time.
Yep.
So I was like, no, you weren't horrible. It was a new phenomenon at that time, perhaps. So, but I'm grateful that she didn't stop me from being in front of the television because a lot of my dreaming and
Give me that popcorn.
imagining and just sort of getting lost in the world started from there. So I love dreaming, and that's my most fondest memory growing up, whether it was in my classroom, whether it was in front of the television, whether it was like on my way to school, on my way to something, just getting lost in my own thoughts, imagining being in front of the camera one day, not like I really knew the intricacies of being an actor or, the layers behind cinema and the shaping of cinema. In fact, one thing I say very candidly is that my cinematic knowledge is not as strong. I have not seen every movie in the book. I don't know every director. I don't know all tech. I'm very popcorn-like with my entertainment. Like, good movie, let's watch it, let's enjoy it,
Yeah.
I do have specific actors that I'm very fond of, But I don't have all the answers if you talk about like yesteryear actors and, filmmakers or musicians or anything like that. I don't have all the answers. And growing up also, it's not like I was bookish about it. I didn't study it. I just experienced it through my imagination and like just enthusiasm to be entertained.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of my childhood. And of course, memories with my friends. And that's a very big part of who I am.
Yeah.
Endlessly laughing with my friends, doing random things. Till now, we
love her
laugh about
heels.
the same things.
Yeah, I was just looking at them. They're
that we
gorgeous.
laughed about, 15 years ago. So that's really basically what my childhood was all about. You can't change the person's grain, So my grain is to just like enjoy what I call like maza. I just want to have fun. I grew up watching Govinda and Karishma Kapoor dance. So I remember that as a very strong memory in my brain is that
Probably saw
they
him in
kept
person.
dancing in different spots, sometimes in a garden,
set, watched them
sometimes
doing their
on the
numbers.
road, sometimes on, in the Swiss Alps, and sometimes, and they kept changing their clothes. So I was like, why is anybody stopping them from changing their clothes? Like, or why is anybody stopping them from stopping the traffic and dancing on the road? I didn't really put two and two together and understand that this is a film, is being shot, there's a crew. I was also really little. I think I was like 3 or 4. But I remember this question mark, like what's happening behind that screen? What's happening there? It's fascinating. And that's what really got me very attracted to that being my career in life.
Yeah.
And then I think about it, I'm pretty sure subconsciously, my father's a filmmaker and my mother is a actor, done theater. I'm pretty sure I just was hearing a lot of that conversation in the house, and that must have gotten into my conscience somehow, and that must have become a focus, like interest point. Naturally.
Yeah.
But this connection that I formed with the television, just me and the television, happened very like one-on-one.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, my mom told me that when I was a kid, all I do was watch Maine Pyar Kiya over and over again. Like that was the movie for some reason. I have no idea why. But like that was the movie that I grew up on.
I watched Judai.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. I know that.
Again
Yeah.
and again and again.
Yeah, and it's so weird, right? My mom's always liked to me like that's what you used to watch. And now I probably watched the movie when I was a bit older, and I was like, it's good, but I don't know why. What's good?
Yeah, that happens so much.
And I was probably that.
You go back to a
young
movie you
age as
loved
well,
when you were
and
a
it's-
kid. You're like, yeah,
it's
this movie
amazing
is
how there's
very good.
lasting impressions from that.
The most important moments in my life, you just want these people around you. You don't want many people around you. You just want your really close friends
to an ad
around you
break?
and your family around you.
Guess.
It's definitely
Are his
ever
things set up
evolving.
like that?
The feeling of motherhood.
I've never watched
When
him
you
do his
speak about
interviews this way,
surprises, there are
but I
multiple
guarantee
surprises
advertisers
on a
want
daily
spots
basis.
on his stuff.
Would you say that you were always
So-
a confident kid and teenager, or did that
This may have
take
been
time
edited.
to build?
Because he's
I was pretty
huge.
confident. I don't think I had confidence issues. I was very happy on my own. When you're in school, sometimes you find the need to be like hang out in groups, although I had a very healthy group. My friends would always make fun of me and say, why are you always walking alone? You always end up walking alone with a frown on your face, because my resting face is a frown.
Right.
So a lot of the times people think I'm upset about life. And actually, I'm not upset about life. I'm just living life because my resting face is a frown.
Can't say what.
So I'm
My
on my
face
phone
in the
doing
sun,
something, and they're like, "What
my dad used
happened?
to
Did
always
something
think,
happen?" I'm like,
what are
"No,
you pissed off
everything's
about?
fine."
Because when I
But my
squint,
face
I
is
look
like this.
pissed.
So that's my resting face. So I was very
I'm usually just
comfortable being on my own, doing my own thing, as I am now. And I think that's also a second child thing, is what, from what I understand, is because you're obsessive about the first child, and the second child just grows up, because you're like, I can't do it all over again the same way. At
What
least
if
the
you have
parent is
twins
like that.
second?
I don't know, but that's what I've understood and I've heard. And I think a lot of that rubbed off on me, because I know my sister and I respond to situations very differently.
Yeah.
And I'm always way more, let it be, who cares, Yeah, so about things. And
Yeah.
she's, but no, but why? But, and all of that.
Yeah, it's an interesting one how
Then you got only children.
people can see being alone as being
us
distant
such good
when, like
things.
you're saying, it's actually
I mean, that does happen sometimes, that people might feel that because I'm a bit of like, I'm happy being on my own, that there is some like
Love being on my own.
distance, or there's a feeling of not wanting to engage. I don't think don't want to engage. It's just like I'm very comfortable
It sounds like
staying
that's-
silent as well.
She and Ranbir have that
And that's
in common,
what would
I
happen
think.
in school. It's not like I would not want to hang out with my friends, but I was okay also just walking by myself. I didn't need to hold somebody's hand and
Relates.
walk. And I
Yeah,
think
that's
that said a
very
lot about just my dreamer personality, what I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
And gives me the space to sort of float a bit.
And you were talking about friendship, which I think is such an important part of our lives, and it seems to be such an important part of yours. How have are those friends that you had then, I assume they're the same friends you have now? They're people that you've kind of grown up with?
Yeah, the exact same friends.
What's their life look like? Like, are they all in the industry too? Are they doing different things? Like,
So most of them aren't. Just my best friend, Akansha, she's also an actor. We all live in different parts of the world. Like 4 of us live in Mumbai. One of my best friends, she lives in New York. The other lives in Toronto. One lives in London. One lives in Singapore. We're a group of 9 girls. And honestly, the reason I have to give them a lot of credit, because the reason I can still say they're my best friends and we're so close is because of the patience that they've given me. My journey as an actor started very early. I started working at the age of 17. And when you're newly, pursuing your career, your focus becomes your career. And even though I always made it a point to hang out with my friends, sometimes you start taking your friends for granted. And that naturally did happen. And of course, the great thing is the same things that we used to fight about 10 years ago is the same thing that we possibly fight about today. So what's lovely is nothing's changed. But what's also lovely is that there's still something to fight for, and I do give them a lot of credit for that, for just being patient with me, showing up, even though many times I can't show up because I'm working or I'm here or I'm there, making excuses for me when I'm unable to be at a particular, getaway or a party or a dinner. But I do my bit to, reconcile and, make up for it. But they're really like my family. And that's something that's very clear, that when you make friends that stay with you for so long, they're your family. And a lot of people told me that, actors don't really have friends. I don't know.
People said that.
Yeah. So I was like, but why? This is in the beginning when I started acting, and when your friends are your life. That usually doesn't happen because you land up leading such isolated lives, and you're so busy. It's very difficult to hold on to the earlier friendships. Also, it's difficult to understand an actor's life or somebody who's in the industry, their life, because it's so random and haphazard. So props to them for really, they've made an effort to even understand my work. But now everything's changed because now I have a daughter, so now it's like there's a new girlfriend in the family. And now it's all about they don't even want to talk to me. They just want to talk to her. I was FaceTiming my friend yesterday who was in New York, and we were FaceTiming, and Raha was there, my daughter, and her foot was in my face. And I was trying to talk about something very serious. And she's like, I'm sorry, I just can't focus because I'm only looking at Raha's foot, which is in your face. Yeah.
I love that. I want to talk about Raya in a second. But when you're talking about your friends, I don't have an actor's life, but my life is also on a plane, traveling, moving around. And I speak to my best friend, who was my best man at my wedding, probably 3 times a week. And I completely agree with you. It's all because of him. Because when I call him, he'll make time. He'll shift his schedule. He'll be available to figure out a way. And because of that, it allows me and us to maintain this friendship when, I left living in London 8 years ago. And we've been able to, with all our time zone issues and everything else, maintain this friendship that we've had for 20 years now.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful to him, because you're so right that if individuals like that, and again, we do our own part and make up for it. And now I'm flying to Dubai to go and see him because he now moved to Dubai. And so I'm making sure that I go and take out a few days to just catch up with him.
Yeah, when I met you in New York for breakfast, the day before that, I spent the whole day with my friend Meghna, who's my New York friend. So the 2 days that I was there, I made sure that I met her on the one whole day that I was there. And it's like you do your best, but I know in my heart that they're doing better. And I'm very grateful to them for that. And whenever it feels like, because it's it's life's give and take, right? Whenever it feels like one's taking too much and the other's giving too much, we find a way to balance it out.
Yeah.
It is something that really grounds me. And I remember, like, at the most important moments in my life, you just want these people around you. You don't want many people around you. You just want your really close friends around you and your family around you.
Yeah, you're so right. What was it like with your wedding, with having them there? Was that like a special experience?
Yeah, we got married at home at our house where we were living together and are still living currently. And it was like 40 people, and my girlfriends were like 9 out of the 40 people, and their plus ones. And it was amazing, and it's one of the fondest memories that I've had. But like, I remember even when I was in hospital, like after I'd given birth and everything, like I asked my sister, have you told the girls, have you informed them? It's the first, it comes to my mind, like these things, they're sort of embedded in me, in my body. And even though it's not every day, even though it's not every week that we hang out and meet or speak as often, they're a part of my life.
Yeah.
In a very deep way.
No, I'm not surprised that any of your friends want to ignore you and talk to Raha, because she's so adorable. I was just telling you, I saw this video of you. I think you and Ranbir and her were traveling, and the paps were like waving at her and said hi, and then she waved back and said hi, and it was the most adorable thing. I sent it to my wife straight away. I was like, look how cute she is. Like, she's adorable. And how has motherhood been for you so far? I remember, like you said, in New York, you were missing her.
Yeah.
Like, I remember you talked about her so much. Like,
Not anymore.
how has it
Doesn't
been
miss her
for you?
any.
What has been a surprise? And what has been something that you expected it to be that way?
I don't think you can prepare yourself for what you're about to feel. To be very honest, my mother said this to me earlier before I gave birth. She said, I said, do you remember something? And she's like, no, I don't remember. I said, why don't you remember anything? She said, because you'll be surprised, you forget. You forget what happens before. I've forgotten a lot of what it was pre-motherhood in terms of my feeling or my way of life, or the way my brain functioned at that time.
You had
my
it, but
days are so
life
full now. In
before
fact,
my
I
kids, it's
wonder
like-
what I was doing with my time earlier.
I'm pretty
Even
sure I
if
didn't
was
have a
not
life
working,
before my
like, if
kids.
I was
Yeah.
not working, what was I doing in the
Right.
day? Because now it's a full day.
Yeah.
Like, wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning, and she's asleep by
7?
8:39.
Yeah, but
I'm
remember
asleep soon after by 10.
what her household's probably like compared
7
to
to
yours.
10:30, it's like you're on a treadmill, You're just like, you're running. When you speak about surprises, there are multiple surprises on a
she's
daily
Indian, so
basis
probably going to bed real
currently,
late.
because she's a toddler. She's a 2-year-old right like now. She's just turned 2. So now she's really bubbling.
Yeah.
There's a lot of surprises every day.
She's
Yep.
such a happy
Definitely
mama.
ever evolving.
Wait till she
The
gets
feeling
3
of
and 4.
motherhood. But I think one thing I can say for sure, and it is a good thing, but sometimes it can also be a bad thing. Bad is the wrong word, but like, it can also be something that people have to put up with, is that I think I've just, of course, become very incessantly protective ever since she was born. So I remember the earlier months after she was born, it was bliss for me. I really enjoyed the instant sort of survival, like this being needs me to survive at this moment. So that very survival sort of nurturing feeling, even though there were sleepless nights, etc. And of course, I have to acknowledge the fact that I'm hugely privileged in that aspect, that I have help and I
Right.
have a great support system and all of that. But that instant sort of bonding period, I deeply enjoyed it, but I was also filled with
rich
so
people
much
hire
worry.
nannies
And that's something that I
night?
have to
Yeah.
And so
talk
that
about
they don't
very
have to wake
openly.
up in
And
the
that's
middle of the night.
Hell yeah, I
a
would.
very normal feeling is what I understand.
Absolutely
for mothers
would
to
if I
feel,
had the money to
especially
do
new
that.
mothers to feel. But what I also learned
You
with time
bet.
is that the worry doesn't go
Unless you
away.
have to breastfeed.
It just changes form.
Correct.
And depending on your personality as to how anxious your mind is, or whether you're able to deal with certain situations better, it might move forward differently. But it's a beautiful combination of feeling extreme love with extreme worry. There's a lot of worry. And by worry, and I mean, I don't feel like I'm stressed out or I'm like stressing her out. I think I become pretty childlike when I'm with her. One thing I'm pretty mindful about is to really enjoy her childhood. You know, a lot of parents who have kids, 18-year-olds, 20-year-olds, keep telling me, enjoy this time, enjoy this time. In fact, in New York, I met a woman in an elevator who was there to drop her son off to college. And I was holding Raha in my hand, who was, not when I was there for the Met, right after. I was holding Raha in my hand and, you know, Raha was fidgeting with her. And she said to me, just enjoy this time. I'm dropping my son off to college and time just flies. And I could see the pain in her eyes. So I really take that advice very seriously
I get
about
asked if we have
enjoying
our
the
hands
time.
full
So I
every single day
really
of my
try
life.
and be very present with Raha.
Because we have 3
Which is
kids.
something that I don't do very often in my
Not
other
at all.
Get your hands
We don't
moments
have
in
our
life.
hands
I'm
full.
always
Every
like,
time we're out, at least once or
people
twice.
always telling me, you've
Every
left the
time.
building, you've reached
It's
home.
always that too.
I'm always like 10 steps ahead. But with her, I try to be a lot like in the present and in the moment. And it happens more naturally because I want to enjoy every second. But there is a sense of like, you know, I'm always like, my heart is just way wide open. And I'm just like always worried about something or the other vis-a-vis her. But I'm guessing that's something that I'm just going to have to like live with for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
What we don't realize is our parents are also just
Yeah, every
we're
time we go
discussing
out.
giant babies. You're so used to like thinking about your
We go
life
to
like
Target
this.
or
Like, this
something.
is my moment
We
and
have
my
3
this and that. And when
children
you just
in
got,
the car.
you think
Yeah.
about
And
it
so-
at
Got your
on
hands
a
full.
larger scale,
Got your hands full.
all the
It's
worry
always
just
that, though.
disappears. So when I look at the struggle
We had a drink again,
and
we'd be
the
really drunk.
suffering that there is in the world, it really makes me count my blessings and be
Either that
so
or-
grateful
Are they
for
twins?
everything that we have in our lives.
What made you think that?
Because it's hard
They're same size,
for
same
people
age.
in the world.
What's it been like to see Ranbir become a dad and a girl dad, especially? Like,
He's amazing. He's very creative when it comes to entertaining her. She entertains him as well. Like, they both have a very special friendship, I would say. Their bond is not like you'd feel like they're two friends, like either two adults or two toddlers, you know, at different moments in life. And he's like literally when he looks at Raha, it's like stars in his eyes. There's that. And of course, for any parent, but when I see it, because I've known Ranbir pre and I know him now, I see the difference. I see the difference in the way he is with people, you know, as a father. He's just so sort of full. You know, it's not like he was ever edgy or he always had a very calm demeanor or anything, but there's a fullness which I've experienced firsthand and that I see on a daily basis. And it's actually really sweet and
Oh, you've
special to, you
experienced
know,
it.
watch
Sorry,
their
I'm not gonna say that.
conversations. And very often I'm just like sneakily, you know, videotaping a lot of their random moments. They don't even know I'm doing it. Eventually,
Yeah,
I
that was
guess
an
one of them
interesting
looks at the
She's a
camera.
millennial.
And then I
She
put
grew
it
up
off.
with it was
But
right on the cusp.
it's just the beginning.
yeah.
But the beginning is just so unique and special, at least from where I'm sitting and from what I've seen.
I did that. I told a
And
story
just to
where I
watch
was
your
talking
partner
about high
also
school, and I was doing this. as if I
Manifest
was,
love in
there was
that
no
way
texting
is
back
very
in my high school
interesting.
days.
Go on. What do you mean?
I mean, we have love for each other, right? I have love for Ranbir. Ranbir has love for me. I have love for Raha. Raha has love for me and Ranbir. And Ranbir has love for Raha. So it's, you see different moments of love transpire differently in one house, under one roof. And it wasn't always like this, right? Like Raha's come into our life now. So you know the before and the after, although I don't remember much of it, as I mentioned earlier. But you know moments and you know feelings and you know how like we've watched sunsets together, but now when we're watching the sunset with her,
Right.
it's a different feeling.
Yes.
You know, it's a very beautiful feeling.
Yeah.
It's very fulfilling.
Me and my wife had
So
8 years
sweet.
together.
You're making me
of
feel like I've
marriage
got so much to look
before
forward
we
to.
had
So
kids.
like,
Yep.
We don't
Yeah.
remember a word of it.
no, I always tell Radhi, I'm like, I want to be a girl dad so bad. Like,
Oh, yeah. And he really wanted to be a
He
girl
did?
dad. Yeah, he
Like
really
every
did.
dad does.
I'm doing this thing where
I
I,
don't know why you
send
wouldn't want to
Raha
be a girl dad.
emails.
I'm a boy dad. I didn't.
I've been doing it since she's
I
born.
wanted both.
Every
Me
month.
too.
But
And like just like an
They're very
amalgamation of like
At least mine are.
photos and videos
They are
and what
very
happened and just thoughts and feelings.
Wow,
and
that's
it's
so
like
cool.
yeah, it's somebody said that this was somebody. So I was like, that's a great idea because it's like a live memory book. I don't have the discipline and the energy to actually fill out a physical memory book. So I thought this is like a digital way of doing it.
It's easier.
Great idea.
It's
I love
easier,
it.
yeah.
And
And it's nice. Like when maybe she's 15, I'd give this to her and say,
Heck yeah.
listen, this is all the memories that we collected for you over the years, and
Beautiful.
go ahead and have some fun.
what a special gift. What kind of things have you put in there right now?
Just like photos, videos, thoughts, mainly just visuals of her with either like us, with either one of us or her grandparents or, her aunt or uncles and stuff like that.
Memory
Just
album.
random moments, and like a little note that you did this today and, we had such a lovely trip here and something happened. And
Yeah, I do that every day on
just sharing.
MySpace.
Yeah.
Whatever I can.
keep
It's
uploading
within
stuff on the
moments,
MySpace.
Whatever
I
comes
do it
out
on
at
Vine.
that time.
Yeah, awesome.
But yeah, so when I'm sneakily recording the two of them, it's and I sometimes when I review it, and it's really very heartwarming to watch, because that this is like something very special is just cooking. Like I remember in New York we were speaking about this, and I remember my mom sent me a photo of like a baby walking down the street with like many bags. Like it was like a random like a Pinterest image or something. And I discussed this with you, and we said, we actually both agreed that we're actually all giant babies through our lives, at least for our parents. Like no matter how old we become, we're still babies.
That's what they see.
still baby
That's
for
what
your
they
dad?
see. And I see that now, I see that now when every time I would travel, my mom would
got to
say,
that point yet.
okay,
She
be
hasn't
careful
reached it.
before you cross
You get
the
to the
road.
point where the
Take
parent
care of
becomes
your
your baby.
arms and
so
legs.
frustrated.
Yeah, I'm like, what do you say? What do you mean take care of your arms and legs? But I understand that now.
But my mom's that way.
I mean, I'm
I'm
not
still
a
the baby
parent,
for my
but
mom.
everything you're saying to me, even when I think about it for a second, I think I'd be exactly the same. I'm like that with my friends' kids. Like if my friends' children are over, and I remember my friends, I can't remember what they were doing, something called adventure
tell my friends'
parenting or
kids to
something. I
get
can't
off.
remember those. One of these parenting techniques. So we're sitting at one end of a living room. The kid is at the other end of the living room. And she's like just learned to walk, but she's like putting her hands through candles like this. And so I'm about to run over and like take their kid away from the candle. And they're like, no, she'll learn. And
Damn
that
straight. I was
their
just going to say,
parenting
don't
technique.
interfere with that.
And my
Let
heart
the kid
was like,
learn how to burn.
and it's not even my child, but I'm feeling so much.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm constantly like, whenever I see
Teach 'em
kids
how to
running around,
treat a
again, friends'
candle.
kids in my home or whatever, I'm like looking for their heads to not bump against
Yeah.
the table. Like I find myself even being that way now, so I can't imagine when
Yeah.
it's your own child. Like,
One thing is worry for the physical
Yeah.
physical danger or within the moment. But the other worry is also worry whether you're doing your parenting bit right.
That's the bigger worry.
Worry whether you're giving them,
Right.
the right tools to go
Right.
with. And she's so small right now. She's 2. So there's no need for me to be thinking about all of this. But every moment is a learning, right? If I'm trying to impart some sort of life knowledge to her in a specific moment, say she's dealing with an emotion and I need to help her deal with it, because basically what from what I've understood is that this is where they really start like pushing their boundaries and understanding the world, and instead of confining them to specific emotions
terrible
that this
twos,
is the
but I
way you're
think it's
supposed to
actually
be,
more than 3.
this is the way you're not supposed to
I've
be.
never
You
liked the
help
term
them
terrible twos.
deal
Yeah.
with every emotion, specific, because happiness is easy to deal with, but the other ones are not, right? And it starts now. It starts very early. So giving her the tools to deal with these emotions, I need to have those tools myself as well, number one. Number 2, I think this is where my, fast forwarding to the future happens, is that I know I can't be a perfect parent. And from what I understand is I can just be good enough, but I have to be able to be so present and one with her feeling what she's feeling, asserting certain values and behaviors, but also just letting her be, So there's so many of these permutation combinations that I'm just like constantly toying with. So that's one other worry about like just future and life. And then of course there's this physical thing. And then is she eating well and is she sleeping well? And what's going to happen tomorrow and what's going to happen day after. And I'm also a working mom. Again, I have to acknowledge my privilege. I do have a great support system around her, but the worry is not going to leave, like, if I'm away,
Right.
is somebody going to say something? Is she going to pick up on something that I
bet.
would not want her to pick up on?
Gives her
All those things.
a whole different set of
But,
worries.
Yep.
You just take each day as it comes and just move forward. So I guess the reason I'm speaking about it is because it's a very real feeling, and it's not something that I've just got figured out since day one. I'm constantly sort of wrapping my head around it on a daily basis
for the rest of your life.
But apart from that, it's joyous.
No, I appreciate you being so honest about it, because I think the worry point, and especially what you raised, this idea that as humans, we judge ourselves so much, but there's probably no role that we judge ourselves in as much as being a parent, because you can almost really see how this innocent, beautiful being is taking on so much of your energy, your words, your behavior,
you're responsible
the environment. And I think that almost makes us so mindful and thoughtful, because with our partners, with our parents, we can kind of be a bit lax, and
of course,
sometimes we can say things we don't mean or whatever. But when you're with a child, it's almost like you realize how precious they are, and how those exchanges are. And it's so interesting what you're saying, this idea of self-judgment. And it's fascinating, because I've met people who've said, my parents were always around and gosh, it was really, really hard. And then I meet other people who say, my parents were never around and it was really, really hard. And then you hear, my parents forced me to study this and I don't like them for it. And then someone says, my parents forced me to study this and I love them for it. It's almost like you kind of look at that and you go, well, how do you win?
You don't.
Yeah,
that's the thing, because human beings are hard. What we don't realize is our parents are also just, what we were discussing, giant babies, you know? So we're all figuring, I know I'm a mother right now, and it's not like I've got it all figured out, and I have, by all figured out, I mean, right it's not like, I have all the answers
and
to life.
And no two childs are
for
the same. Just because you raised one doesn't mean it's going to be the same with the second one.
I'm very grateful for the life that we have and the comfort that we enjoy. And I'm so much more grateful after becoming a mom. It's so surprising how I think when we were talking about what's surprising, I always found myself to be somebody who had, a decent amount of empathy. But I think the empathetic quotient just truly multiplies once you're a mom, because you picture your child in every situation. So when I look at the struggle and the suffering that there is in the world, it really makes me count my blessings and be so grateful for everything that we have in our lives, because it's hard for people in the world. And it's not, I'm always somebody who likes to believe in the good and the positivity, and I'm always trying to put out, there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Hell yeah,
and, it's going to rain because the sun can shine. That's my belief. And you only appreciate the sunshine when these are all great quotes for Instagram, but when it's real life, and you see the suffering and the struggle that some people have to go through, you really have to just take a second and be like, wow, everything's good. Just cut to a wide shot and everything is great. In fact, very often what I do, especially when I'm having a bad day, I have this little balcony at the back of my bedroom, and it's like really small. It's more like a fire exit or something, and I just go and stand there, and I can see because in Bombay, a lot of the buildings, especially where I live, are like very close together. So this might sound a little creepy, but when I go and stand there, I just have like a wide view of activity in different people's homes. Yeah. Somebody's walking with some clothes, somebody's watching television. I'm not looking into their bedrooms, but it just gives me a sense of life existing whilst yours is.
Is that Ranveer and Deepika's bedroom?
A lot of things into perspective.
Best believe I'm watching.
You're so used to thinking about your life like this, like this is my moment and my this and that. And when you just cut and you think about it on a larger scale, all the worry just disappears.
Yeah.
And you take a second and you just feel very grateful for where you are in life.
Yeah, I could tell how much that was.
Yeah.
You look on the verge of tears.
I mean, that's what I'm saying when I talk about it, because that's how much maybe internal worry I have. Just as a person, for people in the world, and also for most importantly for my loved ones and for my daughter. But that's how my world has opened up, I think, post being a mom.
Yeah.
Way more aware.
It shows in her
about
acting.
The other life that exists as opposed to your own.
Yeah. Have you thought about things you want to do or get involved in to help the communities or people that you're noticing or things like that?
I mean, I'd rather do and not talk, because sometimes it feels like you're talking to make a point, just to see what a great person I am. I think there's definitely I can be a way nicer person on a daily basis and way more helpful. But I do whatever I can do and help however I can help, whether it's, for people, for animals, whatever I can do. But of course, I think I'm probably just not even scratching the surface. There's way, way, way more that I can do on a daily basis.
No, I appreciate that. I think all of us can and feel that way.
Yeah.
And you're right, it's better to do and not talk. So I appreciate your humility in that way and keeping it that way. I was thinking about this idea, this concept you brought back from our conversation, which shows that you're a good listener and have a great memory, because the fact that you're recalling our conversation from like nearly a year ago now, if not 2 years. Maybe
a year ago.
A year ago now.
Now 2 years. So we're in 2025,
right?
correct? 2 years ago.
Right, it was 2023, no? Or not, maybe 2023.
23.
23. And so like this big
24.
baby. 24, was it 24? Yeah, maybe
24.
It's 24. Maybe it's 24.
It might be 21.
But this big baby idea.
22? Anybody want to
What
take a guess?
parts of yourself do you think
69.
you're still babying or that are still a baby in your own self emotionally?
Parts of you are still baby.
Oh, I think I still experience, speaking just about movies and cinema, because I think when I watch a movie, I experience it like like a child would, I am not measured with my emotions or my responses. In fact, very often I'm like, if I'm watching whoever I'm watching, whether it's, Ranbir or my sister or something, I'm like, what's going to happen now? Why is she doing that? They're like, we did not make the movie. We don't know.
And Ronnie will do
But
that.
I'm like, I'm just so involved in it and I just need to know. So I'm like chatting through it. So I think in that way,
So Ranbir is like a silent watcher.
Ranbir is, he between the two of us is much better, vis-a-vis his cinema knowledge and movies, and he's way more diligent with it. In fact, a lot of my movie watching experiences is shared with him and because of him. Yeah, but like I'm like always, and then he's like, we'll find out. I don't know.
I always say to Indrani,
same with my sister.
Ami Jani na.
I'm like,
I don't know in
why
Bengali.
is this happening? And she's
Why is
like,
this
I
happening?
don't know, Alia, I
Ami
did
Jani
not
na.
make it.
Let the movie tell the
So
story.
in that sense, I'm very physically involved. So I'm not like an adult watching a movie and all. I'm a child. I think still this would happen to me as a child, as a kid a lot, is that if I'm like exhausted, tired, I would just cry, and not realize why I'm crying. And I'm like, everything is horrible. And my mother would be like, darling, are you tired? Do you need, I said, I'm just, everything's a bit hard. So that happens to me when I'm tired even now. I'll suddenly like just start weeping about something completely random.
Yeah.
And it happened to me a couple of weeks ago, actually. I was with my friends and I just started crying about something not being right. And they're like, are you okay? And they're like, I'm just tired. Like I not had a good night's sleep. Yeah. So that happens to me a lot. I think also curiosity. I don't think my curiosity has left me. I can see that now, as when like with Raha and stuff, she always wants to know, but why doing that? Why is that? Who's that? Who's that person? Like, always wants to know everything. I want to know the conversation that's happening across the room between two people that I know, of course. And I'm like watching them speak and, like trying to read and then like lip read what they're saying to each other. And if I couldn't understand bits of it, then I just ask, what happened? What happened? Who said what? You know? So the curiosity is still alive.
Yeah. Radhi does it with people we don't know. We'll be at a restaurant, she'll be like, let's pretend we know what conversation they're having and let's have it.
I love doing that.
She loves doing that.
I love doing that.
I'm like, just talk to me, man. Like she's like, no, this is more interesting. Let's do this. So I'm like, all right then.
Especially if somebody's having a fight, then you want to overhear even more.
Yeah. She's like, what do you think they're talking about? Let's pretend to have their conversation. I'm like, I don't know what they're talking about. I know nothing about them.
Like, it's okay,
Nor
whatever,
do I
healthy
care.
baby. That's all we want.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That is the
you got
number
what
one
you
priority.
wanted, yeah.
No, that is the number one priority.
Yeah.
You're right. A healthy child is the most important priority. But there's particular things, and Radhi is one of two girls, so she's kind of she's like okay with that. And so, but you had no preference. You were like kind of like whatever comes.
Yeah, I was like, just health. You know, that time I was just thinking about like health. Everything goes well, smoothly. But of course, I think she's really, like I said, even for my girl gang, they were like so excited. They were going, we have one girls trips are now going to be so different. You know, my best friend, one of my best friends is getting married this year, and she's like, "Are you coming?" She's like, "Yeah." She's like, "I don't care if you're coming. I hope Raha's coming." So I was like, "Yeah, Raha's coming."
I love that. What's has Raha already watched any of your movies already?
No, she's too small to like watch a full movie. She's watched multiple songs of mine and Ranbir's, and now we've sort of exposed her to other people's songs as well. But I think now she's got this feeling that everything is our song. In fact, the other day, some song played, and I was like, oh, it was like, I think it was a Shah Rukh Khan
Alexis
song from
admitted that
and
she
I was like,
thought
till
she was
I was doing
4
some
years
dance
old
step, and she's like, Mama,
that
your
Beatles
song?
songs
So I was
were
like,
my
no,
dad's
Mama,
or mine.
Papa's song? So I said, no, this is Shah
My
Rukh
kids
Khan's
call him
song.
Natu for that.
Yep, I am not to.
She was not sure.
I love it.
You've played
Leland
so
saw us
many
making that video, and he heard
powerful
that song
women
over and over again.
on screen. So many. And I've always admired you for the choices of roles you've played. I think I said that to you when we first met. What's the one you're excited for her to see? Is there one movie that you think, I can't wait for her to be able to watch this? And obviously at different ages, she'll be able to watch different ones. But
I mean, when she's much older, I'd want her to, in her own time, watch the films that really sort of shaped me as an actor and the experiences that I learned a lot from. Like, for example, a film like Highway, and a film like Gangubai, or a film like Razi.
Razi, I was about to say.
But in fact, I recently realized that I don't have many some of them, but like very like
child.
No, you don't have a lot of child-friendly films.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
At a certain age.
Yeah. So in fact, that
Rock
made
your Ronnie,
me want to take up a film that is loved by kids, or that is like a kid.
The closest one would be
film.
probably RRR.
It's recently made me want to do that,
That's
and
not kid,
I'm now I'm on the hunt.
Yeah,
Probably the
because now
closest
you're
one.
looking at your filmography and going, God, she's going to have to be 18 years old. to
Yeah,
watch
for
me."
almost
I was
all
like,
of
if
them.
she can watch a
Krish
couple of films. I'm
4
not
with
sure how much
Jadoo.
she'd want
Uda
to watch.
Punjab,
Like,
it's great for the kids.
Gangubai
No, I
and
don't-
Highway at this age, or not this age, or even when she's 4 or 5 or 6. I wanted to enjoy films that are like. So I know Brahmastra is a film that kids liked a lot.
Yeah,
Like
that's
when
true.
I meet kids now, they
Brahmastra's
say
a good kid
Brahmastra,
film.
or they say like Rocky Rani, and I like your this song. Kids they like songs.
Songs, yeah.
I remember, like, I grew up watching songs. I mean, my memory is more so of music. And that really leaves a long-lasting impressions. That's one thing that I feel very grateful for, is that I can sing to my daughter. I mean, I'm glad I have a decent voice, because very often, she demands songs out of me, and I'm just like singing, and I'm like, especially when I'm putting her to sleep. So yeah, now I'm on the hunt to do like more kid-friendly.
Yeah, I love that. I could see you doing a voiceover too
That's
of an
very common
animation.
when
or
actors
Oh
get
yeah, I'd
something
love
like
that.
big actors
I'd love that.
become
That would be
parents.
super fun. I
You'll
could see
often
you
see
do
them
that.
do
What's a role that you played
Yeah,
that
movie
you
more
see
shortly after.
yourself
because they
in,
want their kid to be
that
able to
most
watch
felt
it.
like you?
It's very
Is there a
common
role
for
that
big
you played
actors.
that feels like you personality-wise?
I don't say this. A lot of the
friends.
people who love me and who know me say this, and it's going to sound bizarre, but they say I'm Gangu.
No way.
Yeah.
Really?
They say that that's my alter ego, the personality, the boisterousness, the way she, not her situation, of course, not her circumstances, but the way she, and I think that's also somehow, there was like a nice push and pull in playing that part. She was very gangster. She was very, I think that is my alter ego. I don't think that that's the way I am in my real life. But it is definitely the part that I enjoyed depicting the most. In a sort of humorous way, a lot of my friends and people say, "You're Gangu, she's Gangubai," and they say that. But I think there is some truth to that. Only, I guess, from the essence of the fact that she's a child, but she's got a certain like.
Yeah, she's got some spice.
Yes, exactly.
And some some
Pizzazz.
fieriness. And then what's a character or role that you played that you'd like to borrow some energy from?
So I think at this particular moment, I need some playful, bubbly energy, which is like sort of superficial, if you call it, or frivolous, or it's just like
Silly.
silly.
Yeah.
So I was actually thinking about this the other day, but I feel like I need some of that. So there's
Rocky
this-
Orani had a bit of that.
Rocky Rani had that, but she was also a little like a journalist, a little. So maybe I can take it from Rocky's character, from
Yeah.
Rani so much. But there's this character that I played in Hamti Sharma ki Dulhania. Her name is Kavya. I was actually watching a song of that the other day, and I was like, I don't remember who, that girl was at that time, that feeling. Not like I feel like I'm like old or something like that, but there was like a silliness there that I feel that I can do more with, because I think I was pretty silly. And now I've just become a little bit more in control at most times.
Yeah.
Which
Being married,
I
being
think
a mom.
I can do with some
I think
silliness.
that's Ranbir rubbing off on
I
her.
feel like when I met my wife, I was like, I took life very seriously, and she's like just silly and playful all the time. And it's so helpful having that, because otherwise you're so right. You just kind of get stuck in your ways.
But honestly, because you asked character, so I said I named this character because I was also watching this song the other day. But actually, when I have my daughter in front of me, and I get that silliness from her.
From her, yeah.
So actually, I just, like I was saying earlier, I just tune into that moment with her.
My daughter loves
I just
it when I
need to
call her
do it
silly.
more for me.
She's like,
though.
Daddy, am I
Like,
silly?
For my
I said, yes, you are.
vibe, and not just when I'm with her.
Yeah.
Be more open to a silly joke as well.
Yeah.
And like crack a silly joke,
Yeah,
if at all.
yeah,
I think I don't do that anymore.
Don't listen, Rick.
Okay.
Yeah.
You don't need to do that
It's
anymore.
become a bit
I'll never stop doing that.
becoming a bit too grown up.
Yeah.
I will
Are
never
you
stop
someone
being
that
a silly
energizes when
goofball
you're on your
kid.
own, or energizes when you're around people?
Certain people can really energize me,
Yeah.
but I think I'm mostly energized on my own.
Yeah.
More than a certain number of people, I think, can really
Same.
drain the energy out.
Yeah.
And that does tend to happen. Say if I've gone on a promotional tour for a film,
Draining.
because you're just meeting so many people and you're engaging. By the end of it, I'm just drained.
Small
you're
talk
just zapped,
drains me.
because
so
you're just
fast.
constantly engaging so much. I think I'm also one of those
By the
people
way, I started
who
watching What We
is
Do in the
very-
Shadows. Speaking of
I think
The
people
movie
getting
or the
drained,
show?
the show.
there being
I
like
haven't
this
seen the
sort
show.
of
You didn't watch the
twinkly
movie?
light
never seen the movie.
in front
Watch
of
the
me
movie
where
first.
I
That's
feel
what
like
it's
I'm
based
always,
off of.
Oh, I thought I was supposed to watch the
take people's
series.
energy in pretty quickly. I'm not somebody who's just blocked off to everybody's energy. So if somebody's walked
the
into
movie.
the room and they're not
Alright, I
having
will.
a bad day, that'll reach
Fucking
me very
amazing.
quickly. If something has happened, which is a like chaotic situation, it's not like I can block it off.
Yeah.
So I'm very receptive to people's energies. So I can, almost like it comes right to me. So, which is why I maybe prefer to not engage as much and to stay out of most conversations, and or to stay like speak
very
to
you.
just the people that I'm most comfortable with, because I'm familiar with their energy. There's nothing new there.
What do you do with the energy when it comes to you when you're sensing
When it's
all
new.
Yeah.
Oh, it does. I behave very weirdly sometimes. I really do I've noticed that about myself later on. I'm like, why did I behave so weird in that moment? And like a friend, like somebody who knows me very well, would be like, I find it strange talking to you at parties sometimes, Alia, because you can behave really strange and say some very strange things, because I'm so confused with the different multiple energies. I don't know what to do with them.
Interesting.
But what helps is your surround system and the people that are around you, especially the team that I work with. They know me so well that
Brad
even
Pitt
if I'm
is
having a
lot
day like that,
I remember
that's
hearing
why
him at a
it's
Q&A
very important for me
say
when I'm working with a
that's
particular
his
team for
center,
me to be very
his
comfortable with them.
close-knit circle.
Because if I'm
Everything
not
else will
comfortable
really
with them, all this will
uninterested for
add
him.
to my daily energy zapping.
It's an aspect of ADHD.
Again, it seems like I'm talking about all my energy and my things, that they might have their own day. And I'm very receptive to that as well. And everybody's sensitive to everybody. And here, because I'm talking about myself, I just thought that, it's important to find a way to go through the day where you do your own thing and you don't demand too much from people. And likewise, vice versa, I don't demand too much from people as well when I'm going about my day.
When did your self-care and mental health advocacy work begin? Like, what was it that led you in that direction where you started to prioritize
Talk about
self-care,
it.
talk about anxiety, talk about mental health? Like, when did that become important for you and why?
I think my sister, she was a huge part of that, I think. And obviously, I'm doing it at a very small level. Whenever I can talk about it through my own lens, I do. Shaheen, my sister, wrote a book. It's called I've Never Been Unhappier. And she's, lived with depression since she was 13 and has built some amazing tools in life to be where she's at today. And she speaks about it beautifully. So something about her honesty inspired me to talk about it, not in a way where you seem like you're complaining about your life, because again, you're not in a position to complain, you have it all, but just to talk about it so that somebody somewhere watching might just resonate with it and feel like, oh, okay, I was having the same day, or I have the same feelings, so I'm not alone. Everybody feels it. It's happened very often with me where I've seen some A-list celebrity, Hollywood, international, or like even here, speak about something, and I've resonated or connected with that, and I was like, oh, they're feeling it as well. So it's happened. It happens with all of us. So that's when I think I became more open to talk about having any specific anxiety. And also I was recently clinically diagnosed with it. So I had a proper backing for me to not just say I'm just having an anxious day. Okay, it's not just that. ADHD and anxiety. And I actually seeked it out only because I was actually finding it very hard. My body was heating up in social gatherings, and I was like physically responding to it. So I was also finding it very hard to focus on certain things, and my focus was going in and out. And then I realized that I gave myself a lot of credit for being an amazing multitasker. And then I realized that, I can multitask, but it does take a toll on me.
Yeah.
And I need to understand why it's taking a toll on me, because I'm forgetting the most random things, like things that I have scheduled, I'm forgetting. Why am I forgetting these things? So I did a test, a professional test, not like some random personality test or something, over 3 days.
And you found out you were Hufflepuff.
Diagnosed with ADHD and anxiety. And immediately I was happy. My ADHD in me gave me information, right? So whenever there's lack of information is when I get most thrown off. So I'm always seeking information, comfort, very averse to change. So the minute I was aware of these things, it's actually made dealing much simpler. Yeah. And I'm not on any medication or anything, although I can be, but I chose not to. And I'm actually just actively working on it to help get through it.
Yeah.
And I think I manage pretty well.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I mean, I think it's so useful for people to hear that, because as you said, we always think everyone else is doing just fine. And especially at parties and events, it's fascinating to me how many people who go to these, whether award shows, whatever it may be, the amount of people who say to me, I am so anxious, and everyone's feeling that way. Everyone's going through it. Everyone's worried about what they're wearing, how they look, how the night's going to be, who they're going to bump into. Like, it's so incredible that everyone's feeling the same way, yet everyone's trying to act normal. And so I think, people like yourself sharing that you feel it, you experience it, and also how a diagnosis can actually relieve you of that pressure.
It does.
Yeah, and relieve you of that stress.
Because it makes you feel like, there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of chatter in your brain, and you feel like, is it just my brain, or is it just something that is happening to me today? And the minute you find an answer to it, you feel like, it's not something that I was just making up for myself.
That's what it is.
Yeah, and I think it's comforting. It's comforting to know that you had an inclination that something was holding you back from going about your day in a specific way, and now there's an answer to it.
Yes.
You get the comfort, and then you put specific structures in place in your life to help you get through that. And whatever that may be, to each his own. I chose to find ways to center myself through different ways, and use the support of my team to maybe delegate a little bit more, do things so that I'm not, and remind me about certain things, all those little things. So I was like forgetting the most random things. But I think the need for getting it more in order came after being a mom, because I was like, I don't want to forget anything related to my daughter. I think that was my big fear. Again, parenting pressure that you put on yourself, etc. But yeah, that happened, I think, last year, and it's been a while since that happened. The reason I also again talk about it is not to seem like, I'm having such a hard time and look at me and feel bad for me. It's none of that. And I think a lot of the times it's me and my sister, when we sit and talk about it, it's not like we're only talking to each other about how we're struggling, but it'll just somehow come up when we're talking about this happening, and it's just understood that it's because of XYZ reason. So the next time you talk about it, there's no need to explain again. So it's like an unsaid conversation. So I think the reason I'm also talking about it is that maybe a lot of the times I might respond a certain way in a public event or a gathering or a situation or a conversation or a talk. And maybe I'm responding because of XYZ reason.
Yeah, for sure. And you were reminding me of something. When you talked about multitasking, there was a study that showed that only 2% of the population, the world population, can actually multitask. But when 98% of people hear that, they think they're that 2%. And so everyone thinks that they can multitask. But really, it's such a rare ability.
I can't.
I actually realize I cannot multitask.
Yeah, I definitely can't.
I can't because I can't. So I
cannot.
take up multiple
Always been able to.
Projects. Yeah, at the same time.
And I can be diligent. The word is I can micromanage. I can micromanage multiple
myopic
things.
focused.
Yeah.
But I definitely cannot multitask.
No, definitely.
I thought I could always multitask, but I can't.
Yeah, no, but it's what you said. The trick is
Very
you
good
think
at
you
it.
can do it, and you can probably do it for some time. But what you don't realize is that battery runs out.
Yeah.
And then very quickly you realize you can't do it at all.
Yeah.
And so maybe you can do it for a day, or maybe you could do it for
I
an
could do
hour or
multiple
two.
things
With
that are all
certain
driven in the
things,
same
I would
direction.
always say, I think,
your mom. I'm
women
very
are
good at
always
multitasking.
used to multitasking and all. Maybe we are. I don't know. I would say this, but I've grown to realize about myself that, in fact, I almost stop hearing one thing if I'm focusing on the other.
Yep,
Yeah.
100%.
It just, my brain just shuts the other part down.
Yep.
What have been some daily practices or habits that have changed your life, that have really helped you deal with the crazy schedule, now becoming a mother, playing all the different roles that you play? What have been some non-negotiables that you've really had to...
All the cocaine from Karan
I have
Johar.
to be very frank here because there have been multiple habits
I
that
wish
I
she had gone
tried to
into a
set in
song.
place for
Come
myself.
fly with me.
But
She's
I've
being
not
very
followed
frank.
through with either. So I'm one of those people who hasn't been able to... They see, when I'm not talking about getting a workout in, or that's like a daily habit which has become like a part of my life now. It's not even a habit. Looking outside the window and listening to music and really unwinding. I'm not talking about those things because that's life. But like for a brief period, I used to write things down so I could remember it. I don't do that anymore. For a brief period, I used to meditate because it used to help center me. I don't do that anymore. For a brief period, I used to color and paint whenever I used to feel anxious. I don't do that anymore. I just don't do anything anymore.
Yeah.
You know? So I'm actually... Because
I
I
love
think,
that honesty.
Yeah, because a
Hashtag
lot of people
parenting.
sometimes feel like, especially now, because 2025 started the new year, you need to set New Year resolutions. You need to do something new. You need to,
That's the parenting
That's
hashtag.
the parenting
take control of
hashtag.
your
I
life
just
in
don't
this
do it
particular
anymore.
way. There is that pressure
So true.
to do that
Especially young parenting.
and do that and do that and do that.
That's why
And there
parenting
was
is
this challenge
sacrifice.
called the 75 hard that I heard about. And I was like, oh, I'm going to do the 75 hard. And, I'm going to do this. And my sister was like, Alia, you're not, because you have enough going on. Now you don't need one more challenge. You're a mom and you're working and you're doing, right now, others might be able to, specifically you, do not need to take this on.
Yeah.
And I was like, am I going to take it on? Because again, I'm going to be compelled to go through with it. Yeah. And I'm not going to be able to go through it. And then I'm going to
you're going to have a meltdown. Yep.
Which is fine. I'm okay with feeling like a failure. But, why do I add something more to my plate? So I just
Ashley.
realized to cut the clutter,
What's happening?
do what
I was
comes
talking to
naturally.
my daughter.
She watching?
So there's nothing
may be.
new
But
that
that's
I
a
can
common
speak about
thread
as
right now. It's like, Ash,
non-negotiable.
It's so juicy.
You have enough on your plate.
Because
You don't need anything
I've been
else.
stuck with it. That's the truth.
I love the honesty. I think that's going to help so many people. Just like, you don't, it can get so, like, you hear like, I remember at one point in my life, my morning schedule was still pretty intense, but it used to be even more because I'd have journaling and I'd have gratitude, I'd have this and I'd have that. And so much of it, what I've realized is becomes natural.
Yeah.
And so now it doesn't need to be this forced habit.
Yeah, it's seasonal.
My workouts are perhaps for myself.
Exactly,
You know?
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
seasonal.
It's become so natural that I have to get a workout in
Totally.
a daily,
Yeah.
like 6 days a week. For example, I'll give you, last year,
That helps
to start
ADHD,
in
by the way.
2024, I started the year
it?
by
In the
finishing a
morning,
book and I was like,
specifically.
wow, because I hadn't finished a book in a really long time. I was like, wow, this year I'm going to finish at least 5 books. That was the last book I finished last year.
I love it.
It's not
Audiobooks
because I
are.
would always start a book and not finish it.
Yeah.
So
I don't have a
read
problem with
couple
that.
of books on like parenting and this.
I do
and
that all the
and,
time.
Like different things, but I would not finish.
If the
books,
book
but I
doesn't
would
keep me
finish
engaged, I will
5
stop
books
reading
this
it. Same thing with a
year.
movie.
Finish anything.
If I don't like the movie, I'll just stop watching it.
So already,
Doesn't bother me.
like mid 2024, I was like, I'm already slacking.
But I know some
I'm
people who, no
already
matter what's
behind
going
my
on, if they
goals.
started the
So I
book,
decided this
they are
year,
finishing the book.
I'm not
My wife
gonna
is like that.
make
Yeah.
any resolutions or whatever. I'm just gonna be. Just gonna live. Gonna go about the day and do what comes naturally.
Yeah.
Because if it comes naturally, it'll
Oh
stick.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it'll become a part of your
Red
life
beer
anyway.
stick.
Yeah. I think you're going to relieve a lot of people of pressure and stress.
Yeah, I think it is.
Take
it
something
is
seriously for once in your life,
important to
Corbin.
acknowledge that not going through with
No.
new tasks that you set for yourself for self growth is okay.
Yeah.
As long as you're
That's wisdom
mentally
right there.
conversing with yourself and actually being aware of the areas of growth, that kind of growth is enough. I'm very eager to grow in life, spiritually, mentally, physically, emotionally. But you can do that through listening and through conversation and through talking to yourself. Conversation with yourself. I think that's my non-negotiable. But I don't call that a daily practice.
No,
I think
that's
that's
great.
like that's an hourly practice.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's constant.
That's constant and that everybody does.
Yeah.
So that's also enough. But I do have to say, it's very therapeutic for me to watch other people go about their regime and their lives on Instagram Reels. When I see like Sunday resets and Saturday resets and people lighting a candle and cleaning their house. I love it. It's so relaxing. It just
And you
makes
can feel like you did it yourself.
Well, it's like I've never once cleaned
Yes,
my
I think
house.
that's what it is. It's a guilty pleasure because it feels like it was me, but it's actually not.
Yeah, you're just living vicariously through them. It's like ASMR as well. It's like that feeling.
Yeah.
Are you an ASMR fan?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's such a therapeutic healing process. Seeing people do things that are good for themselves,
Yeah.
for sure. It's amazing. Alia, it's been such a joy talking to you today. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much
so
for being
much.
so open, being so honest.
Thank you.
I think you made me laugh. You nearly made me cry. You nearly made yourself cry. It's been such a joy getting to know you more deeply, and I'm so grateful that my audience did as well. We end every show with a final 5. These
Okay.
questions have to be answered in one word
Rapid
to
fire.
one sentence maximum. We do this with every guest. So, Alia Bhatt, these are your final 5. The first question is, what is the best advice you've ever heard or received?
From my father, I'd rather be stupid than pretend to be intelligent.
When did he say that to you? And
Great line.
how has it
Or
impacted
stupid
you?
reactions.
He said this to me when I think I was wary of asking a question
truth and honesty.
in class. And he said, you'd rather be stupid than pretend to be intelligent because if you don't ask the question, you'll never learn. Especially today, I think there's such little patience for getting things wrong. So I'd rather be wrong than pretend like I have the answer, because if I have the answer and I'd never know the reality, like I would never know the answer. And I don't mean this like I can Google the answer if I have to and pretend that I have the answer. But I'd rather not do that. I'm okay with not having the answers because I learn it when if I ask the question.
Yeah, I love that advice. Second question, what's the worst advice you've ever heard or received?
It was very simple. I think and that left a big impression on me. It was very simple. I was like, why can't I do that? It's because you're a girl. Somebody said that to me.
Oh, don't
So
say that.
it didn't make sense to me. I think
Yeah.
I was very young.
Yeah.
It was a very simple thing about
I will slap somebody if they ever tell
maybe
my daughter
going
something
out
like that.
somewhere or something. Why can't I do that? Because you're a girl.
Have you felt
I'm
that
very
continue in
defensive
any part of
around
your career?
how
That
people
was,
talk around my kids,
that
especially
kind of
my daughter.
judgment.
Sure.
Like I said, not off late.
Yeah.
Not that I can remember in any specific way. I'm sure many people have, though. It's continuous, but not something that I've experienced off late that I can remember very clearly.
Yeah. Question number 3, how did you choose the name Raha?
I think so. This was when both Ranbir and I were, like eager parents asking, we have a family group, asking all the family members to give both boys and girls names. So we're prepared. So we can zero down on like a girl name and a boy name.
Yeah.
So there were multiple boy
Corbin.
names and multiple girl names. And we really liked one boy name. We said, okay, this is a lovely boy name, which I'm not going to reveal now. And we said, okay, this name is lovely. Now, any more girl?
In case they have a
And
boy.
then my mother-in-law, Ranbir's mom, suggested, what
Thank you
about
for that,
Raha? It'll go very well with
Oh.
the boy name as well, if you ever have a boy.
That's
you
good.
know?
That's good.
and a girl, if you have a boy and girl both, it'll be a really good combination. And then she suggested a girl and girl combination as well.
People are really weird about
But
names.
Ranbir and
Yeah,
I
they are.
instantly loved
I get real
Raha. So we
judgy
had
about
two
other
names,
people's
just
name choosing. It's like, it's not
boy
your
and
kid.
girl, ready.
I love it.
Like
Does
if
it have a
somebody else
meaning? Is there a
names their
meaning
kid
behind
that,
Raha,
they
yeah,
can't
Raha
name their
means
kid that.
peace,
I'm like,
it
Right,
means
why?
joy, it means
There's
bliss.
a billion people named the same
all the
name.
things that she is to us.
it? Yeah, it's beautiful. I love that. It's a beautiful name. It's so unique as well.
Yeah.
It's a nice
really
name.
nice.
I like
It is.
Raha.
Question number 4. If you had to define this chapter of your life in one word or one sentence, what would you call it?
Growth.
In what way?
You know, there's a feeling where you feel like your purpose is perhaps, because it's about on purpose, so your purpose is perhaps outward, you know, need to achieve this, need to do that, need to. This chapter of my life is very inward, and not like I'm actively feel like there's a need for it. I'm just finding myself being way more interested in growth in the different facets of my life. As a parent, as a partner, as a friend, as a person, as a professional, I'm eager to grow.
Yeah,
You know, not change anything majorly, but to really grow.
nice. What's something you wish people knew about you that maybe they don't know?
I think most people know I'm random and strange and all those things. But there's this, Friends has really impacted me, the TV show Friends. And there's this one episode where Phoebe is being proposed to by her
The best character in the whole show.
partner. Oh my God, what's his name? Matt? Dan? One of them.
My wife
Her
would be
final
able to tell you.
partner.
Yeah.
And he said, Phoebe Buffet, I love you. You are this, you are that, and you're so wonderfully weird. I think that's the one thing that really stuck with me, is because I want people to accept all the wonderfully weird parts of them as I do of mine.
I love
You
that.
know? I don't think anybody's perfect or has everything in order or does everything correctly or like right or whatever. But I love being wonderfully weird. I think I take pride in that.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I've got 2 more questions. I've added a couple in because I got so curious again. What's your current dream? You said you're a dreamer at the start. What do you dream of now?
I'm a very passionate actor, professional, producer. I mean, I'm passionate about that. So I have dreams with regards to my work, which I don't think ever
Don't share it.
ends, you know, and I don't think I'm ever comfortable. And I really like that about my mind, you
Yeah.
know. So I had a film release that last year that didn't do really well. And that's given me a new vigor for a new dream, you know, to try and
What film?
do over, you know. It's something that I feel very
I don't know.
charged by.
Oh,
So that's the professional
the one
dream.
with the brother.
And
it was action.
I think, again, to just
Yes.
soak up as many
That's
moments
right.
as I can.
That,
with my
the
family,
trailer
with
I was
my
confused
daughter.
by.
And
I actually heard some good things about it.
So did I.
if possible,
It was
this year,
mixed.
take a solo trip.
Nice.
Yeah. Alone for 4 days.
Yeah.
I think Ranbir and I
mom and her.
both discussed it. We both
very
were very
good.
excited about it. I said, you know, we'll
the
both
mom
like
and her.
carve out a time where
Like,
you
I'm
take like
touched
4
out. I need
days
some time.
on your own, and I take 4 days on my
Yes.
own, and let's see what happens there.
Where did this come from?
I don't know. It came from us actually
Parenting?
not doing it in a really long while, and both of us are like we're homebodies
get
and lone
recharged
bodies.
when
You
she's
know, like we
alone.
like
That's
to
so good they're doing that.
lone around on our own, on our own. And we both thrive, like together, but individually as well.
Yeah. I love that. Any ideas where you'd go?
Not sure.
Okay.
We literally had this conversation
love-
2 weeks ago.
Any types of places that call to you? Like not even actual locations, but do you know what kind of
I'm a water
feel?
person. Like
Okay,
I'm
good.
Yeah.
a fish Piscean, so I love the water. So it would
sure
have to
is.
be a beach
March.
location because I love the water
Are you a
and the
Pisces?
sun.
Yeah, I'm a Pisces.
And I would take
And
many
I
books.
just so happen to
and I would
adore
read
the
them
water.
and I would finish them. You
I'm
know,
also a water guy.
things
I
like
love
that. So that's
Cancer,
that is
crab.
the dream. Again, it's a great, very comfortable
you prefer the
dream to have.
mountains.
Yeah. Are you big into
And the
star
forests.
signs?
Water in the
Oh, huge.
Yeah, like you like to be near
'cause
waterfalls
you
and
said
rivers.
That Raha's a
Yep.
Scorpion.
Yeah, Raha's a Scorpion.
You're a
I'm
Pisces.
a Pisces.
What date's your birthday?
15th of March.
the one thing about
I'm
a number
astrology that I'm
6.
like,
Yeah.
that
And
actually
so
makes
is my
sense to me.
daughter.
Yeah.
She's number
Everything else
6,
doesn't make a
born
lot of
on the
sense to
year of 6.
Wow.
So I'm very into numbers, and thanks to Puneet, my makeup artist,
Yeah.
who is also my dear friend. She actually got me
She
very
must be behind the
influenced
camera.
into this whole astrology, numbers
So
situation.
teach us something. Tell us.
No, it's not like I have I don't have the thing, but I know that
And what's Ranbir? He's
he's a Libran.
a-
Air.
Okay, yeah.
I just love finding similarities between, star signs and people and numbers. It'll just naturally happen that I get along really well with number 6s. My best friend Ayan is a number 6. 3, 6, and 9.
Explain how you get the
3, 6, and 9 are great numbers.
The birth date or the birth, like the day and the month
I think
and
she's
the
talking
year.
about
So if I'm
that
born on
test
the
of, like,
6th.
Everybody's a
You're born on the 6th?
6th September.
You're a number
I'm a
6.
Virgo, yeah. Does that make me a 6?
See, that's why we could have. Look,
Okay,
that's
yeah,
what
yeah.
I'm saying. That's why we
Okay.
could have a
My birthday's
conversation.
3, 6, 9.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, if I'm born on the 6th, I'm a 6.
Yes.
My birthday is
You're number
369.
6.
Okay, got
And
it.
then there's your
March of
moon
69.
sign and your star sign and your sun
369,
sign, and then
damn,
that's
you're
little.
fine.
It's a little complicated. And I'm like looking at Puneet right now because whatever.
Yeah,
but
I'm a Virgo.
Yeah, so a lot of my best friends are Virgos.
Oh yeah,
all
and
of
all my
them.
best friends are Pisces.
What are
my
you
sister's
saying?
Pisces. My best man for my weddings are Pisces. Like March is like all my best friends are basically born between 8th to 18th of March.
I'm in
Oh,
that
see
group.
this?
Yeah.
And that's why we're having this conversation
Yeah, it's
like so
fascinating.
easily.
Let's talk,
And
Jake.
apparently this year is very good for 3, 6, and 9.
Yes,
That's
it
what I
is.
had too. My
And
Yes,
dad
it
did
is,
this stuff.
Alia.
And Cancerians and whatever. And Virgos.
And Virgos, yeah.
Sorry, so we
Thank-
are now
thank you,
getting into a
Puneet.
completely different conversation.
I have no
But
idea
I'm
what you
very
guys are
into
saying.
this, and I love finding similarities. Like I said, my brain loves information, so I love putting these things together, and then there's an answer. It's
Yeah.
ready for you. Oh, this all makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all laid out for you.
I love it. When did this fascination start?
I think when I started working with Puneet, and she would talk a lot about it, so then I would listen, and then I would. The minute I start seeing result in the similarities, I would be like, oh, wow, that's true. They're here. There's an example. Like Mr. Bansali, Sanjalila Bansali,
Yes.
he's a number 6 as well.
Oh wow.
And he's a Piscean.
Yeah, right.
And we got along like a house on fire.
Yeah.
So, and even like my best friends, they're all either 3s or 9s. I very rarely
know
get
what
along
number
with
you
a 4. No offense to a
369.
4.
Yeah.
But
Like
I
it's an
very
actual
rarely get
thing.
along.
Yeah,
with
no,
four.
I don't know
found
that
it
far.
shocking when I realized, because obviously I've moved as well. So like all my best friends, whether I was living in New York, London, or LA, are all born in March. Like it was fascinating to me. It was like, it just happened that way.
Yeah.
And then you're like, wait, how does
I'm
that
born in
work?
March.
And
My son's born in March.
So I don't know
my
as
mom
much
is
about
born
it,
in
but-
March.
So my sister Pooja,
My
she's also
uncles
a number
were
6,
both
born
born
on the
in
24th
March.
of February.
Yeah.
Also a Piscean. She sent me this book.
My
and
grandson's
the
born in March.
The month that I was born, and it's so weird. Again, it's all in the science, right? Because I keep saying I'm a dreamer, I'm a dreamer, I'm a dreamer. So she sent me
Amir
this book
Khan
of
was
each
born in
week
March.
has like a certain theme to it. Somebody's the perfectionist, the balance and the something. Mine was the dancers and dreamers.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, this is so strange because this is not something that I've read anywhere. I've just said it. Maybe it was on a t-shirt or something I see or saw it and I liked it. I don't know. But it resonated with me.
Yeah.
So I like finding these similarities.
What
What
number
are
did
these
she say
other
she was?
hidden passions,
six.
weird
She's a
little
6.
quirks or things that you find
I
fascinating?
love planning.
Okay.
I
Like
have this,
My
vacations
wife
or
says
work?
I'm an 8.
both.
Both. Okay.
I just
That's
plan.
on a solo trip.
But a
I
10
love
on
planning.
books.
It deeply fascinates me and like satisfies me. There's like a hidden desire for me to be a wedding planner.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Have you ever planned it? Did you plan your own?
I did plan my own, yeah, of course. I think I did it really well.
What did you do really well? What did you nail?
I think the most important thing in a wedding is food.
I agree. And my wife would agree too.
Yeah. So I nailed the food. I didn't nail it.
Yeah.
My chef nailed it.
I think the
As
most
in
important thing at the
catering
at the
service
wedding
that
is
we
a good
hired.
DJ.
People want food and
Shut
they
up.
want a great vibe.
Yeah.
There you go.
And,
I want good music.
Yeah, I think it starts with food.
Nothing worse than
Genuinely.
She's Indian, of course. It
But
starts
just
with
also,
melody.
like,
nothing
colours
worse than
and
a reception with
combination
bad
and, like,
music.
like different themes and different. So I really have an inner desire. Like, so
Yeah.
you see me getting all excited talking about
I know,
to be a
because
wedding
you come to
planner. So
life.
I'm telling my sister, whenever she gets married, I'm planning her wedding and she's not hiring a wedding planner.
I love that. And yeah, planning your 4-day trip will be fun too.
Yeah, that would be. But actually, I might take a break from planning on that.
Yeah, don't
Okay.
plan it. Just go somewhere.
Specific trip. But I think because it comes from my need to micromanage when there are multiple people, because right now for our New Year vacation, we were like 20 people, in Phuket I planned it from start to finish. And then when people are commending my planning and they're like, you did such a lovely job and all that, I'm like, thank you very much. It's the biggest compliment that I can receive.
I love it. Fifth and final question. If you could create one law that everyone in the world had to follow, what would it be?
I think
Be kind to each other.
to just be kind.
I love it. Alia Bhatt, thank you
My
so
advice
much.
is the
I'm
opposite.
so grateful.
Thank you
for
so
your
much.
Punch
generous
more people
time.
in the face.
I was looking forward to doing this
Because
for a long
they're
time.
all
I'm glad
idiots.
we did
If
it.
everybody
Yeah.
was kind
Look
to
forward
each
to
other,
connecting
there'd
with
be
you
no
again
more
in
war.
LA.
There'd be no
In
more
your house.
thefts.
Yeah,
With food.
With food.
if you had
Yes, my
cheating,
wife.
and if
That's what she
people
does.
weren't
So
idiots,
there's never
we'd be a
any lack
better
of food
world.
in our home.
If everybody
I
was just
remember
kind.
most moments in life over food.
Through food.
You're Indian!
We should eat and do this. But no, look forward to welcoming you and Raha and Ranveer over. And thank you so much for your
You're
time.
gonna be in one of the movies?
Thank you.
grateful. If you love this episode,
Wow. What a nice guy.
Yeah.
Seems like a nice...
Anytime I've seen him, he's great. And he always
Lovely
has
guy.
really positive things to say. Life coaching stuff. That's
He's a
just
life
great.
coach?
Yeah, he's a motivational speaker and a life coach, and everything about him accentuates on getting better, being your best self, being honest, being open, being positive. He's really, and he's most for me when he's sharing positive life advice and looking in camera, you're just like this because of those eyes, and you can see the genuineness of
looks like that guy,
who he is. You're like, yeah, dude. He and Mel Robbins are two of my favorite folks. That Mel Robbins, she's also an author, a podcaster, and a motivational speaker, and everything about her is self-help. She's
like a
very
self-help
much,
author?
yeah, very much like an Oprah Winfrey type of person who just wants to see people's lives improved and be their best selves. Or and Mel doesn't do as much of a speaking circuit, I think, as Jay Shetty does. Jay Shetty does a lot of public speaking. Mel does it, but I don't think she does it as much as he does.
Your kids never told you what number you are?
No. I do know what numbers have significance for me, and I know exactly what she meant when she talked about this year being big for 369. He's asking what number I am.
My wife specifically says that because this is just something I know because most girls apparently in America know this thing.
What this stuff is?
It's very similar to, astrology.
Yeah.
But it's all based off you're a number.
Right.
And she says I'm a 8 with a wing of 7. And those people apparently are people with the Enneagram type 8 wing 7 personalities tend to identify most with being 8 types, but share many attributes with 7 as well. They tend to be self-confident, sociable, pragmatic in their behavior. They are also ambitious and dependent, preferring to follow their own path. They are generally more comfortable with conflict than 8 and 9.
I'm taking it right now. An Enneagram test.
Enneagram test.
I bet when I'm done, it has 20 steps, and I bet when I'm done, it won't give me my results until I pay for it.
See this saying? It says my basic fear. 8 with a wing of 7 fears being controlled by others and authority, which is very true.
Interesting.
It's more stupid authority.
Looking it up. Alexis just sent back my cell phone number. What is? How do you spell?
ENNEAGRAM. Anyways, but it's this big thing. A lot of girls, I don't know why, advocates for rights of others, thinks practically and creatively, being afraid to lose their autonomy, dream big and idealistic.
I'm not a 6.
Struggle to be emotionally honest or vulnerable.
It says a 6 is a person who's classified as needing a strong desire for security, loyalty, and a tendency to be skeptical and analytical, often looking to authority figures for reassurance and guidance when making decisions, and they're motivated by a fear of being without support or feeling unsafe. That is not me.
Yeah, I don't know them like what each person is.
Yeah.
But I just
I've never done an Enneagram
because
kind of test.
But everything that this just said struggles to be emotionally honest or vulnerable. That's not me at all.
I've done it, and it's very clear that I'm a huff and door.
My struggles and weaknesses: remain patient.
That's okay. You talking about yourself?
Difficulty listening to authority figures.
Whoa! Bing, bing.
Lacking sensitivity.
Boom, boom. There's 3.
Or feeling for others.
What number is that?
That's mine. She says I'm an 8 with a wing of 7.
Okay, yeah, that fits. What's the wing, though? I never knew about that.
It's your main one is your 8.
So it's just like
it's like you're a
Hufflepuff with Gryffindor tendencies.
Yeah.
Got it.
It's basically that.
Got it. Do you think that's what she went with? What is that?
Enneagram.
Yeah, was J.K. Rowling thinking that when she came up with houses? Probably
Might have been. I don't know.
Because I
think a lot of it had to do with astrology. Random. Sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of those I feel like are pretty accurate with how people are. So it's super interesting. Lovely to hear more kind of in an in-depth personal side of Alia here.
And I understand what she said too. When they feel like I've said all I need to say, especially at the outset, when what her field is cinema. And she is admittedly, I'm a popcorn watcher of movies. I'm not going to get into cinephile conversations with you. I'm also not really going to go in depth into craft stuff. I'm just going to talk about the projects I'm on. And once I've said what I have to say about it, I kind of don't want to be redundant. It's boring.
Yeah.
So once it's been heard, go listen to what I said over there. I don't need to say it 10 times. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've ran into that. I've ran into that a lot with when I request interviews, they're like, "Oh, they have a film coming out. Let's do it then."
Yeah, they're more likely to talk when they have something new to say.
There's like there's not anything new for him to. I'm like, well, we'll ask him different questions,
right?
But they don't trust that.
Well, exactly, and that's the thing with Alia is that we would ask her questions that she doesn't get asked a lot, and they would fall far more into her own personal thoughts about certain things, and it would that's one of the questions I loved. He asked her is, "What characters have you portrayed that is most like you?" That's a great question to ask an actor that they don't get asked a lot. And I bet I've heard it over and over again that a lot of the questions that are asked of celebrities in India are just the same stuff, and too many of them fall into the gossip column category. And who would want to answer that? Mm-hmm. I mean, that's so shallow, especially someone like her who clearly has no patience for shallow, petty, disingenuine conversation. I totally get that. I don't mind small talk as long as it has depth.
Oh, no, I hate it.
I love getting to know people, but I want it to be a genuine conversation about getting to know, not to frickin' mingle or hobnob or to...
Like, it genuinely drains me. Like, when I have to... Like, when people actually at the stores, they come up to us and they're like... Are they twins, or they're like, your hands are full, huh? And I have to fake being interested in what they just said.
Right.
After, my wife, she's like, I literally dissolved.
Yeah.
I'm like, that was exhausting. And it was like half a second of interaction.
That's one attribute of Andrea. She wouldn't fake it.
Yeah.
Someone would come up, oh, you got your hands full. And she would just give him a look like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What you see is what you get.
I always prefer people to be real.
I love meeting people.
Yeah.
It energizes me.
No.
As long as it's genuine. When it's disingenuine, when people do the standard, so what do you do?
Yeah.
Or how are you? You been here long? No, I don't. Please. If it's genuine. Like I went to this party recently in Northridge with Scott, and I knew half the people there, the other half I didn't. It helped that I knew the half that were there, but getting to know the other half, and it was because the ones I know from Scott, these are genuine people who don't do that crap. Mm-hmm. The other ones were the exact same way. So these new people I got to meet were awesome. They didn't do the stuff. They look you in the eye. They're not playing a game. They're not trying to get anything from you. They're not pretending. And they're all friendly people. I love that. It was a wonderful time.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard for people like Alia and
Very.
Red Bear, being at the level they are.
Yeah. Well, and you do get far more when they go somewhere. They have to deal with not just the energies of people in the room like anyone would at a party. Mm-hmm. They have to deal with 50 of these 75 people want something from me.
Yep.
They're not here because they're genuinely interested in me. They're interested in what I can do for them.
Yep.
And that sucks.
Yeah. I agree with you.
Yep. That's awful. Why would you want to put yourself in that position? You see that on the faces of so many on red carpets. They're so tired of doing it sometimes, and then they're like, well, what was wrong with them? They look like they're so miserable. Yeah, because they're like, you're only taking pictures of me because it's going to make you money. Nobody here really cares about me. Yeah.
Looking at you, Ben Affleck.
Yeah, Ben. If there's somebody who can't hide his emotions, it's poor Ben Affleck. It's not his fault, man.
The man doesn't know that apparently
He
there's
can't pretend.
other women besides his ex-wives.
Seriously, Ben. Dude,
He went from one
he
ex-wife-
just got divorced from J-Lo again, and now he's talking about his other ex-wife. Ben. Dude.
Granted, Stephanie said him and Jennifer Garner got divorced because he was relapsing.
Yeah.
Last time.
Yeah.
So,
Just it's okay. But the poor guy, he's one of those people. I'm that way. I don't put a fake face on at all very well. I can be read instantly. So it's like, what's wrong with Rick? And it's sorry. I can't hide it.
It's one of the things that the audience had to learn about you.
It's true. And the only time I can do that is for the brief amount of time I get to absorb myself in a character. But even then, I can't do it. Like, I remember when I was doing Divorce the Musical, at that time, Andrew and I were separating, and I had a lot of rage at that time. And I used it in my character because my character, Rich, is going through a divorce. And I remember Rick Sparks, the director, he came back after one of the shows and he said, Rich was really angry tonight. I said, yeah, too much? He said, yeah, he's got to remain likable. We got to be rooting for both of these people. The Rich I saw tonight, I was like, yeah, Penny needs to divorce this guy. And I was like, okay, I guess, which taught me a lesson. Don't use something that's happening. You have to heal from something before you can actually access that as an actor. Typically, I do.
Yeah.
Maybe not everybody does, but I have to heal from it to be able to access it again. Otherwise, I lose control of that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a nice conversation.
Very nice conversation. She's very articulate. Very articulate. And I appreciate what I sense is a real desire to be genuine and honest and no patience for lies or inauthenticity. I love that the way she can help herself get out of being in a low phase is to just step outside and look at other people and recognize the world isn't just about me. Really like that about her.
And I'm picking up on this, and I have for a few years now. And through all the people we've talked to, I feel like a large portion of artists have ADHD.
Yeah.
Because ADHD, even though it's misconstrued as just you're being hyper and you're distracted,
Right.
it's actually a dopamine deficiency. So you search for things that will actually interest you.
Interest you in increased dopamine?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so you get more dopamine.
And when it's not happening, you go elsewhere.
A lot of your moods will fluctuate a lot because you're not interested. That's why a lot of them do poorly in school.
Right.
They're not interested.
Not
in
interested.
this. Unless something is interesting to them, then they're like the smartest kid
Which
in class.
school is bad enough for even those who don't have ADHD. School is rough.
But so like a lot of them, and to be an artist, to pursue something that you're like, this is probably illogical what I'm doing right now, but I love it.
But I love it.
And I want to do it. It's very illogical to do that. But if that's what interests you,
Right.
it makes sense that ADHD is going to have a large portion of those people because they're like, I'm not going to sit at a job, a 9-to-5 job.
Well, like
I'm not going to do it.
Like you've said, and once you figure out what that is, it's your superpower.
Yep.
Because then you can be hyper focused into it in a way that people can't. Yep.
I feel like if there should be a study done to see in all fields, not just obviously acting. I think is probably a big one that you'll see it a lot.
Sure.
But I feel like in all creative fields,
I bet directing has quite a few of it too.
Directing's different, but it might because it's also very analytical.
Right.
Very. It's in a different way, but yeah, you'll probably have a lot more
artists
in general, people that are creative, that they know what they like,
right?
And they're if they don't like something, they're not going to be.
Yeah,
they're
it's
not going to
unacceptable.
do it.
Right? Yeah.
You're not going to conform or just settle
Right.
for something just because which is great that in India they're starting to do more studies and people are starting to talk about ADHD more.
And
I feel like
mental health.
later than they have elsewhere.
Yeah.
Because obviously the school culture and the learning culture in Asia is a lot different than it is here.
I also love that she was very clear and open and honest and fine with the fact that she was wise. She didn't just go do something on the web. She actually went and got a clinical evaluation about where she is. And that evaluation came her to the conclusion of and I love that she probably got you're probably fine self-managing this. Let's see what happens. And if that works, great.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, come back. There's things we can prescribe for you that might be advantageous for you. But if you feel like this is something we can give you these management skills with, but sometimes the management skills don't work. And you actually do need to have something prescribed because there's something going on that needs to be calibrated that way.
Self-help books have never helped me.
Yeah.
Ever. And they just don't interest me either. Because I'm like, who are you? Why do I trust your opinion on this matter?
Right.
Even if they're a doctor or something, I have a hard time trusting people. I did read an ADHD book, and all it did was like, I have ADHD.
Right.
All right. Well, there's that, I guess.
Yeah.
I didn't pick up on like a task that I can do to help me.
Right.
Me or
An
anything
actual
like that.
application you can apply to your life.
Yeah. So I have a hard time reading those, but I know certain people gravitate towards self-help books a lot more than others. So it's super interesting. Love to talk to Alia.
Yeah, we would really love to talk to Alia and Ranbir.
Yes. I think a lot of people assume that I'm extroverted, like in life, just because I'm always in front of the camera. I'm wanting to be an actor.
With all actors and performers, yes.
So you assume, but I call myself an extroverted introvert because I have no issue being open, like being, talking to people. Because I feel like a lot of introverts, they get categorized as they don't like social settings.
Right.
They don't like talking to people.
Right.
My wife is one of them.
Yeah, I know some who are that way. They're never comfortable in a social setting.
I'm very comfortable in a social setting.
Yeah.
There's no issues
Right.
at all. I mean, I might not enjoy it. Like,
Right.
I might not be going
No,
to
but
enjoy
if
myself.
you've been to meet and greets, I can vouch. I've been in so many situations where we've been at things like that.
But it doesn't give me like anxiety.
he genuinely can enjoy that.
It doesn't give me anxiety or anything.
What you hate in those settings is small talk that means nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
You will disconnect from that pretty quick.
I also have a hard time with meet and greets because it's assuming that people, like, I'm important enough for people to come, like, there's something about me that's like worthy of coming to meet me.
Right.
I have a hard time with that. I have a hard time with that in India because I'm like, I'm just a guy with a camera and I post the videos online. So I do have a hard time with that. I think I've often had a hard time, even though my entire adult life I've basically been an influencer in a way.
Right.
I've never ever called myself that.
No, me neither.
In terms of like,
No.
one, there's negative connotations, but also I don't. Like, people often, I hate the question, how's work?
I know. I don't like that question either.
Or like, how's the channel going? And I'm like, I don't.
What does that mean?
One, I don't know what that means.
Right.
Two, you wouldn't understand it if I told you the intricacies of a YouTube channel.
And if you want to know people's hearts real quick, when we have a conversation with somebody and they don't know what it is that you and I do, and they ask, so what's why'd you get started in India?
Yeah.
And you just start to talk about the channel, and then they start saying things like, India's a great demographic. Yep. You're like, okay, yeah, you'd have no comprehension of what we do.
Yeah, for sure.
Or why we do
Great
what
demographic.
we do. Great demographic, man. So yeah, you're doing this, and how many? Then the question always go to how many subscribers, how many views.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
And the influencer thing, I feel like the people who call themselves influencers want to be influencers and like the attention as being an influencer, and that's like their goal.
Yeah.
Whereas I know that we influence you guys, but we don't set out to do that. We're just being us. We're honored we get a place in your life in any way to be a part of it. That's glorious, and that really has more to do with you than it does us. You allow it.
I don't ever actually tell people unless they actually know that this is what I do. I never tell anybody. Ever.
Oh, about this?
No.
I always say I'm an actor and a YouTuber.
I'll say I'm a
YouTuber.
I say it. No, I don't say that. I say I'm an editor.
Oh, you do? That's funny. No, I always say, what is it that you do? I said I'm an actor, and my buddy and I have a YouTube channel.
Because they'll have more questions that I know they won't understand. About what I do.
I understand why you say that.
And so I don't ever do it.
Yeah.
I'm never like, I'm not a YouTuber. I especially don't tell them an Indian Indian YouTuber, because I'm like, you just won't understand.
That's so funny. I don't mind telling, because I love telling everybody the story. When anybody asks me, I love telling them the story about OSR. Because the reason I love telling that story is because when you hear the story, you recognize how it has nothing to do with us.
Yep.
India came to us. Stupid babies came to us. It's really miraculous. So for me, it's like getting to share the story about how miraculous this thing is, and isn't that miraculous? It has nothing to do with me.
I also hardly ever tell people I'm an actor. One, I feel like there's a negative connotation sometimes with actors.
Yeah, I don't give a crap. No. That's weird. But you don't give a crap what people think.
No, I just don't want to have to explain it.
Got it. Okay, yeah. You don't want to have to talk about it.
Because then the next question is going to be, what have I seen you
What have you done lately? That's the worst question to ask an actor. Oh, you're an actor? So what have I seen you in? What have you done lately? It's like, there's a lot of actors who've had 40, 50-year careers and done stuff you've never seen, and it doesn't make them any less of an actor.
Yeah.
It's like the litmus test for your success was, were you on a recent show I watch?
Yeah. So
no, I wasn't.
So that's why I don't.
I get it.
I don't want to.
You don't want to have those conversations.
It exhausts me.
I get it.
To have those types of conversations. So I just people like, I'm an editor. I'm a freelance editor. That's like a very common thing I tell people.
That's so funny.
Because they won't have any questions. They don't know what that is.
Of course.
I'm like, I do freelance.
You stop them in their trance.
I do freelance. I've done TV and
I do freelance
video.
editing.
I've edited videos for people, which is true for myself.
That's so funny.
That's about it. There's probably something I should go to therapy for in there, but we are where we are. Anyways, great as always. Love listening to Alia. He's a lovely man too.
Yeah, I really like Jay Shetty a lot.
Seems like a nice guy.
Yeah.
Let us know what other interviews we should react to. And the next Alia film, she still got some that we need to get to.
Yeah, I think she referenced one of them in there that we haven't seen.
From this past year. So if you saw that, let us know if it's worth a watch. And anything else we need to know down below.
The biggest, the baddest, wackiest, funniest, filmiest show on earth.
Never